Another black leader has resigned as a Democratic Alliance MP. The party's former Shadow Communications Minister, Phumzile van Damme, resigned as an MP last night, saying it's because of what she called a clique of individuals. She's still a member of the party, though. You'll recall that last December, Van Damme was forced by the DA to go on a sabbatical for 3 months. The party said it was for her debilitating illness. And earlier this month, she announced she was in a legal battle with the party. This for allegedly punching a man in self-defense during an altercation in Cape Town in 2018. The DA's former party leader, Moyane, and Johannesburg Mayor Herman Mashaba have left the DA in the recent past as well. Well, let's discuss what does this all mean. Via Skype now, I'm joined on the Midday View by political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze. Prof, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time this morning. I guess some people would say it might not be surprising that yet another black leader is leaving a key post of the DA as an MP. If you look at the number of black leaders, prominent ones for that matter, who've left recently for different reasons.
Yes, that is indeed so. And as you have introduced it now, in her case, it's not something that happened out of the blue. She has been involved in especially this decision by the new leader of the DA, John Steenhuisen, to put her on a so-called sabbatical for another 3 months until March this year. Really sort of raised questions about what was behind that. But I think what is significant is that she, in her statement now with her resignation, is not mentioning any names. She doesn't refer to specific persons or to say that she feels that she is not welcome within the DA, but rather refer to a clique, as you've mentioned. Now, that unfortunately is something which has been within the DA for many years. It's in many parties we have this, but the DA specifically, I think, is within the DA, it's very problematic that they have different cliques, which is different from the idea of a faction because it's not necessarily politically driven.
Yeah, but the cliques will have some interest maybe that make them exist. One would wonder why this, because I mean, we know, I can say for certain that for many black South Africans whom the DA has been trying to woo to vote for it, and we are in an election year, local government elections coming up in October, it's not surprising that yet another black leader has left. I mean, if I was a DA strategist, that would bother me. Am I really connecting or failing to connect with young black voters?
Yes, that I think is possibly the biggest challenge for the DA. It's how they manage their different constituencies within their power base or in amongst their supporters. Some would call it that they are bad with managing diversity. They talk specifically about diversity and inclusivity in their constitution. And that has become quite a bit, a lot of contestation within the party, because it even goes down to about how they approach policies, like, for example, the employment equity and the black economic empowerment policies. And in the past, that became hot issues within the party, and lots of different opinions existed there. What we've seen also, I think, which were to the fore, some of these aspects were the election of and the campaign for the new leader, the federal leader of the DA, end of last year, where John Steenhuisen was standing against Mbuli and Tuli, and that sort of almost personified the different forces or the different trends within the DA. And that is something which at this stage it doesn't look as if they can move forward. They have tried to address it, but I'm not sure that it is really producing the results. We look at some of the results of the by-elections lately. They are losing some support, especially amongst what is referred to as the coloured supporters, to smaller parties like the Patriotic Alliance, the Concerned Coloured.
Yeah, we saw that by-election result now in El Dorado Park. And I mean, it's not like they lost by a small margin. The DA got a big clap in that by-election.
Well, there were actually two seats that they've lost in Johannesburg, and both to the public, to the PA. And so that is an indication. We've seen it also in the Western Cape with parties like Good and other smaller parties. Not so much the big parties like the ANC or the EFF, but the smaller parties that really take now votes away from the DA.
Yeah, now I'm just wondering, John Steenhuisen, the new leader, and is forming his team, and Phumzile van Damme, after she went on that sabbatical, John Steenhuisen removed her from his shadow cabinet. I'm just wondering, in an election year like now, especially local government elections, and with that background, that context you've just outlined there of these by-elections, where they're beginning to lose some of those wards in the smaller by-elections to smaller parties, I mean, shouldn't you try to rather improve your standing and how you come across to segments of the voting population of South Africa? And if you say you want to be a diverse party and yet you are losing some of your top black leaders, shouldn't you be trying to woo them inside and keep them?
Yes, for sure. And I think that's one of the failures of the DA at the moment. They concentrate very much on the notion of service delivery. That is, I guess, is going to be their main focus for this election. But what they miss in the process is that they don't address the different constituencies, the different groups, or the different support bases that should give them the mandate in order to be able to do what they say they want to do, and that is to be good with service delivery. But to focus sort of almost in an abstract way at service delivery and not dealing with these other issues, I think they don't fully address the expectations that exist or the demands from the voters in order to feel that they are represented by different elements within the society, within the DA then. And I think that's one of the weaknesses, I would say, from the approach at the moment of the party.
Yeah, I mean, since the days of Lindiwe Mazibuko and when she left, currently just seems like the DA is failing to keep its top black leaders, you know, right up to now. So if you look ahead as an analyst, do you think the DA will perform well in the upcoming elections in this context of not being able somehow to appeal to a more diverse constituency that includes young black South Africans?
Well, the political landscape, I would say, for this coming election is a bit difficult to determine because if we look at the results of the by-election since November last year, and that is now about almost 200 by-elections that took place since November, the results were actually relatively stable. The ANC won some seats. They didn't lose significantly. The DA, especially in November, lost 8 seats, but then in the subsequent elections didn't lose so much. Also in this election of the 19th of May, they didn't really lose. So it's not as if the voters are punishing parties because they are not living up to the expectations. So the EFF is not performing at all in these local government elections and the by-elections. So they are not a very prominent factor as a possible alternative. So it looks like as if some of the smaller parties, and if there's a more of a fragmentation that is actually taking place also around the DA. So I guess if the strategist within the DA would have to say, well, this is indicative of new trends in the South African politics, and we have to adapt very quickly to that. And that's why I think my expectation is that they are going to try to be, in a sense, neutral by focusing only on service delivery as the main issue. But in the process, in my opinion, they don't address these other considerations that are as important for an election like this.
Professor Dirk Kotze, thank you very much as usual for your insights. That's independent political analyst, Professor Dirk Kotze, just sharing some insights about the latest development in the DA. Yet another black leader this time around. We've seen Phumzile van Damme going out of the DA, announcing that yesterday. And we wonder where to next for the DA in this election year, especially when it comes to holding on to young black leaders and how the constituents, how the electorate will interpret what's happening in the DA and if they'll come up with a different strategy before October.